And should I take a seat?
No snacks till after the meeting.
Thank you. Yeah, if you see this red light on the side, it's muted. So right here, you'll see.
My laptop's not on.
Oh, okay, okay. So we're good? Yeah, this is unmuted. Okay, let's see what we got.
It's not vision.
Next item on our agenda is presentation. We have a proclamation for Linda Davis that I'd like to read. Be it known that the town of Ledger recognizes Linda C. Davis, Mother Ledger, for her 40 years of service and dedication to the town, 1981 to 2021. Linda C. Davis has been a community advocate since the early 1980s, when she became involved with coordinating the town-wide Gypsy Moss Spraying campaign during a time when Ledger was one of the worst hit communities in the state. She later appeared on CBS Evening News with Dan Rather, and she joked saying that Dan Rather comes to me for the news. Ms. Davis, as a Navy wife, mother, and successful real estate agent, began her volunteer service to Ledger in 1981 when she was appointed to the Parks and Recreation Commission and to the Economic Development Commission. Ms. Davis was elected to the Board of Education 3 times, in 1985, 1987, and in 2003, when she served as the Board of Education Chairman. Ms. Davis was elected to the Town Council in 2005, serving 9 consecutive terms, always garnering the highest vote. She served on Land Use Planning Public Works Committee, Information Technology Committee, and her guide was instrumental in providing residents online access to many of the day-to-day operations that range from paying taxes to witnessing its local government at work. The implementation of the meeting portal provided up-to-date information and live stream of on-demand meeting videos and video conferences. As a licensed realtor, she was cognizant of the impact that blighted properties had on its neighbors in the town. She proposed and the town council adopted a blight ordinance to address this issue. In addition, she was instrumental in the establishment and the success of the beautification committee and the Ledger's Farmers Market, which became one of the largest and most successful markets in southeastern Connecticut, drawing crowds of over 1,000 visitors each week. Ms. Davis was elected the town council chairman by her peers in 2012 and continued into that role, presiding over the financial and legislative body of the town for nearly a decade. She initiated the creation of a permanent municipal building committee and a committee to transform the budget process to ensure the efficient use of taxpayer dollars. During this time, Ms. Davis worked tirelessly with local, state, and federal officials on Indian issues, setting a precedence for our nation as she aimed to protect Ledger's tax rolls, foster a working relationship with the Mashantucket Pequot Tribal Nation, and see that Ledger received its fair share from the Pequot Fund. Ms. Davis viewed public safety and education as critically important, and she supported creating an independent police department, the hiring of a police chief, and the construction and relocation of a new police headquarters facilities, which include improvements to the town hall complex. She also worked to support the 2015 school improvement consolidation projects, the middle school and Gallup Hill School, to provide up-to-date facilities addressing security and technology improvements. Ms. Davis was a major advocate and supporter of the Ledger Food Pantry and a friend to those in need. Under her leadership, the food pantry attracted volunteers. However, Ms. Davis' work did not end there. She continuously worked to foster relationships with grocery stores and outlets who donated food, along with the town's generous residents. Many of the processes the food pantry has in place today were a testament to the work done by Mrs. Davis. Those of us who have witnessed these actions will attest that Linda C. Davis is motivated by the highest ideals of public service. The citizens of Ledger have indeed benefited and will remain grateful for her years of service, commitment, integrity, and perseverance during a period of growth and change, and are fortunate to have been and continue to be served by her rare and impeccable qualities of leadership. Her efforts touched the lives of so many in her community and left footprints on the town and on all of our hearts. Given this 8th day of December 2021 at Ledger, Connecticut, signed Kevin Dombrowski, Chairman. Ledyard Town Council. Every time I read it, breaks me up. At this point, I'll open the floor to resident and property owners who would like to address the council.
John Rodolico, 40 Long Pond Road. That was a very good introduction to some of my statements. Many of us had the privilege of attending the dedication of the Linda C. Davis food locker on Saturday. And I mentioned to Linda on Bill's video that was a reminder that was one of Linda's big ideas. And it was good to hear you read a bunch of the others. And I think what sets Ledyard apart from many other like towns is the innovations here in Ledyard, many of them as big ideas. Some of the other ones that have come along, things like pension reform, Ledyard Center, public-private development, the capital accounts that have been set up. And then again, the list that came up, and many of those were ideas that Linda had. Obviously, people picked up and ran with a lot of those. But I think, again, it's made our town what it is. But we have to be aware also that Hartford also has some big ideas. And they're not always beneficial to the town of Ledyard. For instance, several of them have to do with zoning. And I know one of them already, the medical use idea that that Hartford had, that the town has already opted out of that. But we have some others now. Right now, we have accessory dwelling units that are being talked about. Also the cannabis issue. And these are ideas that are coming out of Hartford. And I would urge the council to do their best and continue to do what they've done in the past, which is to educate people on what these issues are, what the impact to the town of Ledyard would be from some of these ideas, work together with our other committees, and boards, to make sure that we retain home rule. And again, it's important to educate people on these issues. The other big idea that Linda had, which I hope the town council continues, and you will because it's on your agenda. It's not a dramatic one, it's not always popular, and that is the 3-minute rule for people addressing the council. And so I see that I have time left, but I'll end quickly then. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rodolico. Does anybody else like to address the council?
Good evening. Congratulations to everyone who was reelected or appointed, whatever. You have a job that I do not envy. I have the greatest respect for all of you, especially the finance committee. I could never, ever do that one. My name is Eric Treaster, 10 Huntington Way. As you know, the short-term rental ordinance, which expires on February 27th, allows both commercial hosted and commercial non-hosted short-term rentals of single-family dwellings in residential districts. A non-hosted short-term rental is a home that is not the domicile of its owner. Also, as you know, there have been multiple serious complaints over the past 2 years of non-hosted short-term rentals interfering with the peace and quiet of nearby residents. The record is clear that the ordinance has failed to achieve its objectives. The underlying unsolvable problem associated with non-hosted short-term rentals, where the home is not the domicile of its owner, is that it is impossible for their owner to pre-screen their guests. As a result, a non-hosted short-term rental has no way to be certain if his guests, the 2 to 16 new strangers that move into his vacant short-term rental house each weekend, will follow the rules. There is no way for him to know in advance if his guests are dangerous, if they have a criminal record, if they have pit bulls or Dobermans, if they are on the sex offenders list, if they constitute a risk to children, if they are drug dealers, if their cars are insured, if they will create a party house that disturbs the peace and quiet, or if they are likely to invite dozens of additional people into their home. In addition to the risk of creating nuisances that reduce the quality of life in a neighborhood and perhaps being dangerous, non-hosted short-term rental units remove homes from the market that would otherwise be available for families seeking a permanent residence, which is in direct conflict with the housing sections of the PLCD. I know that I would not rent or purchase a home for my family that is near a non-hosted short-term rental. Tomorrow evening, the Planning and Zoning Commission will conduct a public hearing at 7 p.m. by Zoom to consider a proposed zoning regulation. I'm the author. Proposed zoning regulation amendment to prohibit non-hosted short-term vacation rentals in single-family dwellings in residential districts, but to allow hosted short-term rentals. A hosted short-term rental is where the owner of the home, that the home is the domicile of its owner. I urge everyone who is concerned about the risk of non-hosted short-term rental party houses in residential neighborhoods to read the application, which is available online, and to attend the hearing tomorrow evening and express their opinions, whether pro or con. It's important that the Planning and Zoning Commission know what your thoughts are on this. They are required to render a decision on this application. And in order to render the proper decision, it's important that they get information from everybody who has an interest in this section. So attend the hearing tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock. And if you're concerned that you should not participate because you're a member of the council, if you send me an email, I will send you the case law that allows town leadership to participate in public hearings. You do not lose your right to speak publicly just because you're a member of the council. Much appreciated. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Eric. Anyone else like to address the council? Is there any member of the public on the Zoom call that would like to address the council? Hearing none, moving forward. No committee, commission, or board reports. Comments of town councilors. Would you like to speak? Councilor Sons.
I meant to share at Linda's dedication on Saturday of the food pantry that I spent a lot of time up at the original food pantry when it was in the old town hall building on the Congregational Church grounds because I'm a member of that church. And I kept seeing Linda's car there from day one. And I was doing things to maintain the building and check, do what I had to do for the facility. And I'd always knock, go in the building, find her there, working on organizing, setting up procedures, redoing the shelves, restocking, turning cans around. And she finally said to me, "That's my happy place." It was early on in the process, and she made that her home. It was her second home in Ledyard. And whatever it was about that project, she absolutely loved doing it. And that, I think, is just an example of the kind of person that Linda is. And I do remember the day when Councilor Steve Eichelberg, sitting down here complaining about coffee, named Linda Davis Mother Ledyard, and it was absolutely perfect. So I want to thank her personally for all her work for this town. It's incredible what she's done. Thank you.
Any other councilors like to comment? The only thing I'd like to echo Councilor Sons' comments. The leadership that she provided to this town, immeasurable. I feel like from me taking on this role as the chair, I've stepped in some big shoes to fill. I hope I could be half as good as what Linda did. So I really thank her. Her mentorship over the years to me has been, I can't count the work that she's done with this town. I don't think any of us could list everything that she has done. Review and approval of minutes. Would anybody like to make the motion?
I move to approve the regular meeting minutes of November 10th, 2021.
Second.
Second. Comments, corrections, deletions, additions? Roxanne, please call the roll.
Mrs. Ingles,
Yes.
Mr. Irwin,
Yes.
Mr. Marshall,
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan,
Yes.
Mr. Paul,
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Soms,
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. We have the communication list on the portal and referrals. Council Subcommittee Liaison reports. I'll start with admin.
Admin met tonight. We appointed a slew of new committee members, which will be coming to the council in next time. We also discussed the short-term rental ordinance and did not take any action on it as it stands, and Councilor McGrattan can fill in. I didn't prepare a comment on this. I believe that from the beginning of this discussion, which goes back quite a few years now, the goal was to find a way for private property owners to rent their home or a portion of their home, regulate it. It was an up and coming market. My earliest interactions with it, I think the values were all shared, that we didn't want to see a reduction in housing inventory. We certainly did not want to see neighbors abused by people who were turning their homes into party houses or not living there, just renting it out. These were shared goals from the beginning. The ordinance, we've taken a stab at updating it, putting fines in it. The thought at this point from our planner is that zoning may be the better path forward. We are exploring that. She is going to speak with an attorney who's not the attorney we've used in the past. We know the opinion of the attorney we've used in the past. So we're going to be exploring the possibility of doing this through zoning. We need to do something. I don't want to do anything rash. However, we need to do something quickly because it sunsets at the end of February, which simply means, it doesn't mean that they're all of a sudden banned. It simply means they go back to being completely unregulated. So I think that's really a good update from Evan. You were there, did you want to add, Naomi?
No,
Okay.
but I do have a question. So what happens if no action is taken in February when it sunsets? And then we decide we do want to take action? Do we just come back and make another ordinance or send it to the zoning after the February if we do not take action?
If we don't take action on the current ordinance, it will just go away and we'd be left with nothing, which is what we had 2 years ago, which means it's just unregulated. At that point, if we decided that we do in fact want to handle this through an ordinance, we'd have to introduce a new one and vote on it again. Or in the meantime, zoning would provide the path forward.
I think we would have to make some kind of statement,
Certainly.
about what we're going to do and ask for it to be continued.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
But I agree, zoning is the way to go forward with STRs. It's the most concrete way, in my opinion. There's a number of things that zoning regulations can accommodate, and a lot of things that zoning regulations can't accommodate and legislate, but STRs is one of those that can be handled by that and is in a lot of municipalities cases.
That was
So-
not the opinion of the attorneys 2 years ago,
4
which
years
is
ago,
why
yeah.
we ended up moving.
4 years ago,
And-
when this first went to land use.
Right.
Right, and I will say too, sorry. go ahead.
No, it was not. The attorney at the time, the advice from the town attorney, the advice from staff, and the then discussion with the planning and zoning commission was it was not a zoning matter. That's how we came to the ordinance.
So I will say that we specifically put the sunset clause in the ordinance because we were certain that there would be lessons to be learned and that we forced ourselves to revisit it. And so here we are.
Any other questions for admin? One other thing I'd like to refer to admin, two things, is, I'd like to appoint Whit Irwin as the third member of the admin committee.
Welcome to STR world.
And also, one thing I like to refer to admin as well is, we have, I think there's 2 outdated remote meeting policies. I think with the new format with Zoom and things have changed, so I'd like the admin to go take a look at that and readdress the remote meeting policy. That's all I have. Moving on, community relations.
We haven't met officially yet.
Oh, yeah, you've had your
Organizational meeting, other than that, that was it. So it was-
Any questions for community relations? Finance.
Finance. Town Council Finance Committee held its regular meeting on Wednesday, December 1st at 5 p.m. by video conference. Public Works Director Steve Maslin notified the committee that fiscal year 2023 solid waste tipping fees, that means garbage, will increase by $1.25 a ton over the 2022 rates to $59.25 a ton. This increase represents the first tipping fee increase since 2004 and is in reaction to rising solid waste disposal costs in the state of Connecticut. Already existing constraints on the state's solid waste disposal capacity are being further exacerbated by the planned closure of the Hartford trash facility in June of 2022. This is a significant cost. This is driving significant cost increases statewide because trash will be shipped to out-of-state landfills. Connecticut can do better than this, and we have done that in the past. Also, Finance Director Marcia Hancock reported that the annual audit is complete, and she has received the draft report. There were no findings on the town government side. That's a good thing. A finding is a finding of something that we're not doing exactly right. So there were no findings on the town government side, which is a credit to Marcia Hancock's diligence and hard work over the past 10 years as finance director. She also reported the training on the town's new budget reporting tool, ClearGov, will begin on December 6th. It has already begun, and training will be made available to counselors shortly. The committee continued to discuss the ARPA funding project list and is beginning to work now on a set of criteria for project selection and prioritization. Budget workshops for fiscal 22-23 are scheduled to begin with department head meetings on March 10th, March 14th, and March 17th, 2022, starting at 1 p.m. each day. These meetings are open to the public and are a good way to understand how the budget works, and everyone is invited. Now is the time to start joining into the budget process if you have questions about how the town spends its money. Everything else is on the agenda for tonight. Thank you.
Any questions for finance? Land use.
Land use met yesterday. We did approve a motion to amend the ordinance 300-022, an ordinance establishing an agricultural commission, the town of Ledyard, to expand the commission's scope of work. That was approved last night. I feel that will broaden their work to better and expand what they can do. Other than that, we didn't, we talked about some other issues and didn't make any other, chose to keep those on the agendas to continue discussion.
Any questions for land use? You, admin, will see that ordinance next.
You're gonna keep your hand in land use for a while?
Yes. Liaison reports on my right.
WPCA held its regular meeting online at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, November 23rd. Groton Utilities is scheduling another video of the inside of the Ledyard Center water tank that may have already been done. We believe it is time to paint the tank finally. Demolition of the wastewater treatment facility feed pump in a confined space to replace human intervention will cost about $75,000 plus installation, for a total of $175,000. What that means is when waste is fed into the plant, there is a feed pump underground, and when they have to work on that, one man has to supervise, one has to go down into the pit, one of our workers. Anything in a confined space underground, especially with sewage is dangerous. So we're looking at automating that process. And that's what the $175,000 cost is. They're putting that project out to bid as part of the Ledyard Center sewer project. So we're hopeful to wrap it into those funds as we install the sewer line to Ledyard Center. They've also received intent to bid notices for drilling test samples for the sewer line that will run under the multimodal trail. The council should be hearing more from the WPCA on this at the January 12th meeting. And the end of the contract year for water and billing services is July 2022. So the WPCA has begun discussing the bidding process for those services. That's my report.
Thank you. Questions for WPCA? Any other liaison reports on my right, on my left? Going with liaison reports, just further is for Mr. Council Irwin. Your liaison will be the Board of Education and the Farmers Market.
Thank you.
Moving forward, report of the mayor.
Thank you. It's good to see everybody twice in 1 week, right here in person. Just a quick update on COVID. It's as you can imagine, it's cases are growing a bit. 307 cases in the Ledyard Health District service area. To put that into perspective, it peaked at 802 on February 1st of this current year. Hospitalizations in New London County are at 43. That number too has been climbing since late October, and that number for New London County peaked at 102 on January 11th, also of this year. Vaccination wise, I think it's going very strong. Ledyard's at 67% fully vaccinated, and over 75% have initiated at least the first dose. That's a really good start. That still keeps us exactly behind Waterford, East Lyme, and Stonington in terms of southeastern Connecticut on how well we are doing, and we are 2.5% better than New London County as a whole. ClearGov training has been completed. It's a great system. The platform is extremely intuitive. We were a little bit nervous about it. Anytime you have new technology, it's something to be a little nervous for. But when we walked through it, it's very intuitive. So I think you're going to find it's extremely easy to work with. It's going to show both public facing and internally some very good views of budgets, capital budgets, and year-to-date expenditures. So people will be able to track what we're doing very well. GIS mapping is continue to get updated. Some of those maps were last updated in 2007. So we had parcel data on our GIS that was grossly out of date. The contractor is now up to year 2020 right now. He's finalizing that work called shape files, and then they do the overlay onto the GIS. It is something that we're looking to try to do on an annual basis. Instead of getting so far behind, we're looking to do it on an annual basis. So each time a property is surveyed or a subdivision occurs or somebody maps wetlands, that gives us an opportunity to overlay that data set onto the GIS, and we can continue to build a very complete GIS system. So we're hoping to do that. I visited WPCA on November 23rd to see a demo of that pump system that Councilor Solms just spoke to. Great setup, American made, high quality, but we also looked at that pit, and I feel badly that they have to go down there and work on sewer pumps from time to time. The other piece of that is that each time they have to go into that pit, they have to notify the fire companies so that they are in confined space work areas, so that should something happen, our fire departments have to respond as well. So obviously bringing these pumps above grade would eliminate that need. The Ledyard Center sewer feasibility study is almost finished. The geotechnical work, which Chairman Dombrowski alluded to, is something that has to happen to understand how much ledge they may hit or not. So that will be that'll be coming up pretty quick. Had a SACIA board. I'm on the SACIA board of directors, which is the Southeastern Connecticut Housing Alliance. We had a meeting November 19th. We discussed the number of restricted affordable units in all the towns of Southeastern Connecticut. Ledyard, per the Council of Governments, is actually surprisingly good comparatively. We are at 4.6% deed restricted affordable units right now. So 10%, of course, is the state's goal, and we're at 4.6 right now, but we are one of the best outside of the city areas in southeastern Connecticut. Kind of dovetailing into that, I also had a meeting with the executive director and the director of development for Habitat for Humanity. They own property on Colby Drive, which was previously approved for 30 to 32 units of, again, affordable housing. I got them on the line to let them know that if our sewer project goes forward, this could be an opportunity for them. It's an opportunity for us too, excuse me, because they would be completing Colby Drive as part of that project. So that's kind of a plus for both of us. And of course, that would put us probably right on track with our 10% affordable housing units. The cross connection surveys have been completed. This is for public water, and sometimes people have private wells as well as public water. That was done. Probably the best report I've ever seen on that. There was only one cross connect that wasn't inspected and one backflow preventer that was also not tested. They just weren't allowed in because of COVID protocols. People weren't letting them in. But one device out of all of the ones that were tested, I thought was outstanding. Bittersweet, we have hired a new finance director. And I say bittersweet, I am 100% on board with Matt Bonin, who will be joining us as our new finance director next week. Of course, the bittersweet part is Marcia has guided us so incredibly well for so long. She will be absolutely missed. She will remain as a resident of Ledyard for some time, but and she will continue the budget process from start to finish with the town council and with the finance committee. So she will work with us, but only for that purpose. And she will be overlapping with Matt for about a month to make sure he's fully up to speed on everything. And of course, we're going to be bonding this year too. So he'll need some additional preparation on that. We had an EDC meeting last night, actually. We had a presentation from Sector. Paul Whitescarver, a Ledyard Gales Ferry resident, is the executive director of Sector now, and it looks like Sector is on track to do some really good things again. So EDC is looking to rejoin Sector, which is the Southeastern Connecticut Enterprise Region. They are doing a lot and they're very active again. So looking forward to that. Another positive piece here, the planner reported to me last night that in the last 3 days, we've had $1 million of value in building permits that have been issued. So that's a huge number in a 3-day span. So there's some commercial development going on, there's some residential development going on, but it's a good solid number, and building permit value is different than market value. So that's an even better number. I would also thank past and current town councilors for supporting the idea of naming the food pantry the Linda C. Davis Food Pantry. I thank you all for coming on Saturday. I thought it was great. We did get to experience the lack of robustness in the internet and service down there. It's kind of odd. It's, I guess, like a little hole down there, but you know, you look at your phone, you say 1 bar. I mean, come on. I think I was in Oklahoma or something, right? Like Councilor Irwin, but so it's something that we need to work on. But again, thank you for supporting that. I saw all of you there. It was great. I think Linda was very, very thankful and appreciative of what you've all done and for all of us showing up for that. And again, nice segue into this. We also received 2 donations for the food pantry shortly after that. $350 from AA Lock and Key and $2,500 from the Ledyard Rotary Club. So close it with a good note. A lot there, but thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you. Any questions of the mayor?
I have a comment. I met a gal the other day and she said, I'm in town 1 year. And she said, we really love it. She lives in Gales Ferry. And she said, I like the neighborhood. I like the sense of the feel of the neighborhood, the feel of the community. When I come into town hall, everybody is very friendly. When I go to the Board of Education, everybody's very friendly. She's very happy.
That's great to hear.
Normally,
Yep.
usually there's a complaint, but no.
It's great to hear. We constantly work at customer service, that we are in the customer service business. And when residents come in, they're our customers and we got to treat them right. And I think it's being heard. So that's good. That's great to hear. Thank you.
The only comment I like to add is that, probably didn't mention it there, is that all of the councilors have been invited to be judges for the Christmas decorating contest.
Oh, that's right.
So the judging takes place next week. And what is it, if I remember correctly, there's 3 categories: tackiest, most traditional,
most festive.
and most festive.
Yeah, exactly.
So We're welcome to
Yeah.
walk through town hall next week and judge all of the spaces to see who's gonna win.
I haven't put up decorations at my house yet. I don't think I'm in a position to
Well, you can
judge.
judge. You never put 'em up.
If you stop in town hall, see Kristen, my assistant, and she has the ballots. And I will just tell you that I was one of the winners last year. I won't tell you what category, but my office was one of the winners.
Okay, moving on.
Tech.
We have no old business on the agenda. Would anyone like to amend the agenda under new business? Hearing none, admin.
I make a motion to reappoint the following members to the Senior Citizens Commission to two-year term ending December 9th, 2023. Ms. Norma Sokolsky, FAR, 14 Marybelle Circle, Ledyard, and Ms. Paula Crocker, U, 1500 Route 12, Gales Ferry.
Is there a second
Second,
discussion?
These are reappointments. These two asked, their term was up, they asked to be reappointed.
Roxanne, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Marshall,
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan,
yes.
Mr. Paul,
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Soms,
Yes.
Mr. Irwin,
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski.
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Next item.
I make a motion to appoint Ms. Hillary Evans, D, 1538 Route 12, Unit 16, Gales Ferry, to the Housing Authority to complete a 5-year term ending March 31st, 2026, filling a vacancy left by Ms. Evans.
Second,
Discussion?
So, so Ms. Evans vacated that seat when she was appointed to the council and is refilling the seat. I'd like to make a comment about, not about the applicant, but just about process. This application came through while she was still sitting on the council, which I felt was premature. But to the bigger point, I just want to say that as the admin chair, I intend to slow the application process down a bit to make sure we're sort of making the openings known. We can gather more applicants and hopefully improve our appointment of people who are the right fit, not necessarily the quickest fit or the most convenient fit. So I just want to say that going forward. That said, I think this is an appropriate fit for Ms. Evans, and I'll be voting yes on this one.
Any other discussion? Roxanne, call the roll, please.
Mrs. McGrattan,
yes.
Mr. Paul,
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Soms,
Yes.
Mr. Irwin,
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Yes.
Mrs. Ingles,
Yes.
Mr. Marshall,
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Okay.
I make a motion to appoint Mr. James Auroch, R, 1538 Route 12, Unit C30, Gales Ferry, to the Planning and Zoning Commission as an alternate member for a 3-year term ending December 31st, 2023, filling a vacancy left by Mr. J.A. Capon.
Second,
Discussion?
this man actually came to the admin meeting to advocate for himself.
Very, very admirable.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'd just like to thank Mr. Capon. He has, he's an original resident of Ledyard, moved away for a number of years, came back, has been very actively supporting Ledyard. He's on the WPCA. He is takes minutes, does a great job, very knowledgeable, and his work on planning and other commissions in the town has been very helpful. So I want to thank him.
And then noted that Mr. Capon was moved up to a regular meeting, a regular member of the
Mhm.
Planning and Zoning Commission,
Right.
and effective January will be the new chair.
Excellent. Excellent.
Said that, Roxanne? Roxanne, please call the roll.
Mr. Paul,
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Psalms,
Yes.
Mr. Irwin,
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski.
Yes.
Mrs. Ingles,
Yes.
Mr. Marshall,
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan.
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Next item.
I make a motion to appoint Ms. Hillary Evans, D, 1538 Route 12, Unit 16, Gales Ferry, to the Planning and Zoning Commission as an alternate member to complete a 3-year term ending October 21st, 2023, filling a vacancy left by Ms. Evans.
Second.
Discussion.
Okay, so we just voted to appoint Ms. Evans to senior housing. I do think she's a good fit for that. I do not, however, feel planning and zoning is the right fit. Planning and zoning is complicated work. It requires very careful, thoughtful consideration of myriad interconnected issues, legal, land use issues. The work of planning and zoning has legal implications for the town of Ledyard going forward for many years. It is the kind of work where the wrong words at the wrong time can actually get the town in legal trouble, including if those words are on social media. Unfortunately, Ms. Evans has been on social media, identifying herself as a zoning official and as such sharing her opinions. I do not believe this is a good fit for Ledyard, and I will be voting no on this appointment.
Council Song.
I share Ms. Ingles' concerns. I've spoken about this in the past. I've actually spoken to one person who dearly wanted to be on zoning. And I said to that person, you are an activist, not a commissioner. An activist is a person who believes in a path, in a thing. And this person did a lot for Ledyard in activism. However, a commissioner has to be open-minded, they have to be objective, they have to be thoughtful, and they have to be more of a judge than an activist. So I have huge respect for Ms. Evans' hard work and passion, but I do have concerns about speaking before thinking, especially speaking on social media. I think this is an important position that is, as you said, we make decisions that set precedents that can have unintended consequences when we are commissioners on planning and zoning. Things that even counselors have occasionally slipped and said things that have potentially landed us in a lawsuit. You can't just speak your mind. You can be passionate, but I don't think in this position.
I have a question. Has anyone spoken to her, like the chair of planning and zoning? Because she, from looking at this, it looks like she was on planning and zoning before. I don't know if she was a seated member or an alternate.
She was an alternate.
Okay. Did the chair speak to her?
I do not know.
Because, like Bill said, things have been mentioned in the past by public officials. And I think if she is spoken to by the chair, that might be helpful.
I've had a personal conversation with her on another matter about speaking before thinking, but I've not spoken to her about zoning, planning and zoning.
Is it possible to hold off?
Table it. I suppose, I don't,
We
Because
don't normally table
okay,
appointments.
I'm not sure. I'll be honest. I haven't seen her in planning and zoning, so I
I
someone
can
speaks to
say
her.
that this.
You could withdraw the motion and then just not act on it.
I'm fine doing that. That's acceptable as well. I withdraw the motion.
No action on item number 4. Moving forward, finance.
I move to approve the request for funds necessary to implement the written proposal between the town of Ledyard and the supervisors and professionals, AFSCME Council 4, Local 818-45, for the period of July 1, 2021 to June 30, 2025.
Second. Any discussion?
So this is the result of normal bargaining, and I don't believe we normally comment about bargaining. The council has met in executive session. We understand we had the discussion there. So here, I think we just vote.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. Roxanne, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Soms,
Yes.
Mr. Irwin,
Abstain.
Mr. Dombrowski.
Yes.
Mrs. Ingles.
Yes.
Mr. Marshall,
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan,
Yes,
Mr. Paul,
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez.
Yes,
8 in favor, 0, one abstention.
Motion carries. Item number 6.
I move to appropriate $31,185 from account 210-90305-58915 CNR undesignated to account 210-20101-58695 body cameras to supplement the previously allocated $31,730 to purchase police body worn cameras. In addition, upon receipt of 30% reimbursement grant funding, reimburse account 210-90305-58915 CNR undesignated.
Second.
So this is something that I've felt strongly about for a number of years. I believe that police body cameras protect individuals and they protect the police and they protect the town. I've said this before that, in today's world, there are so many phones being held up to videotape what happens in an arrest or what happens in an incident or an altercation. And very often those recordings can get used in unfortunate ways. Sometimes they show the truth. Sometimes they tell the truth, but other times they present part of a story. I think the other part of the story that needs to be told is the police body camera of the person making the arrest. So that, again, we protect the town, we protect the individual, or individuals involved, as well as the police department. We've voted on this in the past. We voted for dash cameras for the cruisers. We did not vote for body cameras. I felt that was a mistake. Now they are required by the state. So all we're doing here is we realize that the state will reimburse us for this $31,000, but we have to spend the money up front first to buy the cameras. So we've got to do it. I think it's a good thing, and we will get some of that money back.
They won't reimburse us for the 31,000, it'll be 30%.
30%, thank you.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Roxanne, would you call the roll?
Mr. Soms,
Yes.
Mr. Irwin,
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski.
Yes.
Mrs. Ingles.
Yes.
Mr. Marshall,
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan,
yes,
Mr. Paul,
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez.
yes,
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Next item.
I move to approve the following appropriations from the recent sale of surplus items through Gov Deals. BOE Reserve 210-70101-58250, $21,850. Public Works Pooled Vehicles 210-40101-57315, $7,100. Public Works Small Equipment 210-40101-57314, $1,125. Public Works Large Trucks 210-40101-57312, $4,500.
Second.
Discussion.
So I'm going to say this again. You guys have heard me say it before, but not everyone has. We used to put our surplus equipment, surplus means it's reached its useful life or we don't need it anymore. We put equipment up at sealed bid auctions. Very few people bid and some people got some really good deals. Now we put surplus town equipment on Gov Deals, which is a public website. It exposes it to far more people. And my point in explaining this, if anybody happens to be listening at home, is that the more people who go to Gov Deals and see some of the deals that the town is offering, the better for the town and the better for them. It's good to have a wider audience. So what we're doing here is when we sell something, the money come from that sale of that, let's say, large truck goes back into the large truck fund so that we can purchase, can't buy a new truck with what we sell an old truck for, but the money goes right back into the account.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
I didn't hear who seconded.
It was
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Roxanne, would you call the roll?
Mr. Irwin,
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski.
Yes.
Mrs. Ingles.
Yes.
Mr. Marshall.
yes.
Mrs. McGrattan.
Yes.
Mr. Paul.
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mr. Ryan.
Yes,
Mr. Psalms.
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. Next item?
I move to appropriate American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA funding as follows. Thames Valley Council for Community Action, TVCCA, $15,000. Poured concrete floor, pole barn, Lower Town Green, $55,000. Balance to purchase Owl Pro, $831, and Housing Rehabilitation Program, $100,000.
second,
And the total is $170,831. Sorry. slipped that in. So we are moving slowly on the ARPA funding and what to do. We have $4.3 million that has to be spent within the next approximately 2 years.
End of, it has to be allocated by the end of 2024 and
Yeah.
spent by the end of 2026.
So 4 years to spend it. We have some very large projects on the list. Finance has been reviewing those projects at each meeting. And we're prioritizing them based on several things, as I mentioned in my report. We're also looking at how to develop a rubric to develop selection and evaluation criteria for what projects we approve, what ones we don't. However, there are some projects that we felt should be paid for or move forward right away. And the three criteria were, one, if the money has already been spent. And in this case, Thames Valley TVCCA has already spent money on behalf of the town for Meals on Wheels. So we felt that there's an obligation. They've come to us and asked us for $15,000. We felt an obligation to reimburse them, if you will, because it was spent on Ledyard residents. The poured concrete floor, the Lower Town Green pole barn, we see as a liability issue. This summer and the summer past, people experienced uneven footing inside that barn. The town very smartly used road millings, which are crushed or ground asphalt, to create a parking lot. It makes a great surface in the parking lot when the sun shines on it and you can drive on it. It's not happening inside the pole barn. And speaking as one of those people who experienced that uneven footing when I was on crutches, it's really treacherous. So we see it as a potential liability. A number of residents and people visiting, including the vendors, have commented about, we've got to do something in that barn. So we think it's a liability. Concrete floor is a good solution. We have a small dollar amount here to purchase the Owl Pro. It's like this, but it sits in a room where we also have meetings and allows us to have simultaneous meetings. And we're moving to hybrid meetings now. We need that. It's a small dollar amount. Last suggestion was made that we put some money into the housing rehabilitation program. This is a program we've used for years. The state initially provided seed money. It started with septic tank or septic system renovation, if you will, for people who couldn't afford to and had to do something about their septic system. The way the program works is they get the money from the town. The work is done, the septic system is fixed, and then the money is, or a lien is placed on the home. So when they sell the home, the town gets the money back. When the town gets the money back, it then gets reused, so it gets recycled, if you will. However, that's a long-term process, and we have increasing needs. We've expanded from septic systems to heating systems, roofs, and other things. So we have, Mayor, I forget how many applications.
We have 17 that are sitting on a wait list right now. 5 of them are heating systems.
And it's heating season. And so again, this is something we felt was a priority in a certain sense of urgency. This is money the town will get back. So we're seeding a fund and we'll see this money come back. So I'll stop there.
Any other questions?
just a comment on the Owl Pro. One of the reasons that we did approve that funding was because we, in the next motion on agenda item number 9, we're actually approving the remainder of the funds to purchase Owl Pro, which need to be spent by the end of the calendar year.
Right.
So the ARPA funds are simply subsidizing the amount that is being spent under agenda item number 9 because those need to get spent.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you.
Roxanne, would you call the roll?
Mr. Dombrowski.
Yes.
Mrs. Ingles.
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan?
Yes.
Mr. Paul?
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez?
yes,
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Soms?
Yes.
Mr. Irwin?
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. Next item.
I move to approve an additional appropriation of $2,207.70 to account 101-121-51-52690, software support and maintenance to purchase Meeting HQ and Owl Pro in the amount of $3,038 to provide transparency with hybrid meetings in the annex meeting room, in person and remote, with a portion of the funding to come from the coronavirus relief fund payment received 12/21/2020.
Second. Discussion.
So there you see the difference, but the $831 is the balance of what we received from coronavirus relief and what the system costs. So the OWL will allow us to have simultaneous meetings, so we could have recorded having it tonight, that we had the equipment.
Discussion, questions? Roxanne, call the roll, please.
Mrs. Ingles?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan?
Yes.
Mr. Paul?
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez?
yes,
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Soms?
Yes,
Mr. Irwin?
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Next item.
I move to approve a letter of directive to the mayor and board of education for the preparation of the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget.
Second.
So I'm going to start with a reference to Chairman Davis again. Every year we review this letter. It's a 1 to 2 page cover letter and 10 more pages of what to do in great detail. It pained Chairman Davis to see that much go into a letter. It pained me to read it every year that I had to read it. It was very hard to read. I pity the people who had to prepare the budget based on that letter. So this year, in the interest of brevity and clarity, the Finance Committee, with the help of Roxanne Marr and Marcia Hancock, have rewritten the letter. It is now down to 8 pages, 2 pages of cover and 6 pages of instructions instead of 10. At the end of the letter was the Finance Committee input. We took that whole section. It was redundant with the cover letter. We took it out, kept the parts that had to go on the front, and basically streamlined the whole thing and made it easier to read. We also had to make some changes for ClearGov, which will make the process easier for budgeting. We thought the letter should also make it easier and should match what ClearGov is going to require. So we did that too.
But I read it, rather, it wasn't that hard to read.
The 12 page or the,
This one.
yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you for those changes.
You're welcome.
Discussion.
And I'll just say that's for you, Linda.
Yes.
She's complained about that letter for a good 8
I
years.
read the letter, I go like, I had no
Yeah.
power. Okay, Roxanne, please call the roll.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan?
Yes.
Mr. Paul?
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez?
yes,
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Soms?
Yes,
Mr. Irwin?
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Ingles?
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Next item.
I move to direct the finance director to engage bond counsel to prepare bond authorization documents for school and town roof replacements, solar installations, new HVAC, and upgraded electrical at Juliet Long School as included in the F-22 capital improvement plan.
Second.
Discussion.
So the big ones are the school roofs and some smaller projects as mentioned, like HVAC. The school roofs have been a long time coming. They have exceeded their useful life. The plan is to replace school roofs on 2 buildings and also put solar panels that the town will own as opposed to leasing from a solar company. So this is something that I've thought was a good idea for years and we finally done it. If we own the solar panels, we can actually potentially generate more revenue than we use in electricity because we're not constrained by a leasing agreement. So what we're doing here is going out to bond counsel. We have estimates for the cost. We don't have bids. We go to bond counsel first. We go to a public hearing. And if the taxpayers approve the bonding, then we go out and get bids through the purchasing process and get the project started. But this is the first step.
Questions? Roxanne, please call the roll.
Just a quick one, Kevin. Big one on this too is there's a like a 31% reimbursement rate on the solar panels and 61% on the roofs.
Oh, very good. Okay, thank you.
Substantial.
It still looks like just one comment, it's one of the comments I had in the finance committee meeting is that looks like we're still working off of some estimates that are town estimates, correct?
Yes, they are. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. they're
So
not-
we did not receive any other formal estimates to flush this out.
No, so we have an estimate for the total cost of the project.
Right.
And that's what we go out to bond with. We can change that dollar amount later.
Right.
Once we have actual bids and have selected what we think is going to be the winning bid, then we can adjust the final dollar amount.
Okay, very good. Any other questions, comments? Roxanne, call the roll.
Mrs. McGrattan,
Yes.
Mr. Paul,
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Soms,
Yes.
Mr. Irwin,
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski.
Yes.
Mrs. Ingles.
Yes.
Mr. Marshall,
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Next item.
I move to schedule a virtual public hearing on January 26, 2022 at 6:30 PM to receive comments and recommendations regarding proposed amendments to ordinance 200-001 Rev 1 and ordinance for purchasing as contained in the draft dated October 26, 2021.
Go ahead, second
Second.
discussion. Just setting the public hearing date.
Yes, correct.
Any questions? Please call the roll.
Mr. Paul,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez, Mrs. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Soms,
Yes.
Mr. Irwin.
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski.
Yes.
Mrs. Ingles,
Yes.
Mr. Marshall,
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan.
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
And would anybody like to make the next?
I would.
Go ahead, Councilor Ryan.
I move to cancel the town council regular meeting of December 22nd, 2021 for the holidays.
Second.
Discussion.
No.
There will be none. There will be no discussion. Roxanne, please call the roll.
Mrs. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mr. Ryan.
Yes.
Mr. Soms.
Yes.
Mr. Irwin.
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski.
Yes.
Mrs. Ingles.
Yes.
Mr. Marshall.
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan.
Yes.
Mr. Paul.
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Now I get that. Who wants to be the new?
New adjourner.
I think it's Gary.
I think it's Gary.
It's like gotta be something out there.
You're the one not making eye contact.
Oh, that's all right.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
without
Roxanne.
accepting?
Naomi
the
took it.
motion- the motion- the meeting is adjourned.
I'll swap once in a while.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.